Mara sat in the shuttle's cockpit, staring at the glowing planet beneath them. The twin moons reflected off her visor, creating streaks of light across the cabin. It had been hours since they stabilized the planet's core, and yet Mara's mind was still racing. She could not shake the memory of the Queen's luminous eyes, the telepathic pleas, and the weight of responsibility that had pressed on her chest. Jalen checked the ship's instruments again. Sensors indicate the planet is fully stable now. No more fluctuations. Whatever was threatening it, it's gone. At least for now. Mara nodded slowly. The Queen's species has survived thanks to us. But there's more here than just survival. We've formed a partnership, something that could change the way humanity interacts with the galaxy. Senna looked thoughtful. I never imagined that humans could work so closely with another species. Like, truly trust them. And not just trust, but really make a difference. Mara smiled faintly. That's what we do, Senna. Humans are clever, adaptable, we think, we improvise, we care, that's our strength. The Queen saw that in us, just as we saw the depth of her power and wisdom. Together, we can face anything. The Queen appeared, again hovering above the clearing in the alien forest. Mara felt the connection immediately, the telepathic bond alive despite the distance. The Queen's presence was calm now, serene, her energy radiating gratitude and relief. You did not die. You did not fail. You have changed everything, the Queen conveyed. Mara exhaled deeply. We didn't just survive, she said aloud. We saved your world. And in doing so, we proved that humans can rise to challenges no one else could face. The Queen's light flickered and Mara sensed a subtle emotion, something akin to pride. Humans had shown resilience, creativity, and courage. They had adapted in a way no algorithm or species could predict. The Queen had trusted them with her people, and that trust had not been misplaced. Mara knew that humanity's greatest strength was not its weapons, not its technology, but its mind, heart, and spirit. That had been the key to stabilizing the fissure, redirecting the rogue drones, and calming the planet's core. That combination of intelligence and empathy had earned humanity an alliance that could last generations. Back in the shuttle, Mara began compiling a report for command. She described the planet, the Queen, the fissure, and the ancient drones that had threatened them. She detailed the stabilization process and emphasized the importance of human ingenuity in resolving a crisis, that no other species could manage alone. Every measurement, every observation, every insight was documented with precision. But beyond the scientific report, Mara included something more. A record of the bond formed between humans and the Queen, the cooperation that had saved a world, and the promise of future alliance. Humanity had proven itself not only capable of surviving in the galaxy, but also capable of protecting and understanding life far beyond its own. As the shuttle ascended into orbit, Mara gazed down at the glowing forests of the alien planet. The Queen hovered near the edge of the clearing, her light pulsating softly in rhythm with the planet's restored heartbeat. Mara felt the connection as strongly as ever, the telepathic bond carrying a single truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were protectors, thinkers, and allies. Jalen broke the silence. Lieutenant, do you really think this alliance will last? Can we really trust them, and can they trust us? Mara smiled faintly. Trust is built on action, Jalen. We didn't just talk or promise. We acted. We proved that we care, that we can think, that we can protect. That's stronger than any words. Senna leaned back in her seat, a tired but satisfied smile on her face. And that's why humans always have a place in the galaxy. Because we don't just survive, we make a difference, and we don't give up even when it seems impossible. Mara nodded. She thought back to the first moments she had seen the Queen, the glowing eyes filled with curiosity and fear, the telepathic plea, please don't die. She had understood the weight of that plea, the responsibility it carried, and the challenge it represented. By trusting in herself, her crew, and humanity's unique strengths, she had risen to that challenge. The Queen's thoughts came gently again. Your species is remarkable. Together we will protect this planet, and perhaps others. Your courage and creativity are gifts the galaxy will come to rely on. Mara felt a warmth spread through her chest, a mix of relief and pride. Humanity had been tested and they had risen to the occasion. They had faced a living planet, rogue drones, and a crisis that could have ended worlds. And they had not only survived, they had succeeded, earned trust, and forged a bond that would last. As the shuttle jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the glowing planet behind, Mara allowed herself a moment of reflection. She thought about the vast universe, the countless planets and species out there, each with its own mysteries and challenges. She understood now that humans had a special role to play, not as conquerors, but as thinkers, problem solvers, and allies. Their ability to adapt, innovate, and empathize gave them an edge no other species could match. The crew settled into a quiet routine, each lost in thought about what had just occurred. Mara reviewed the data one more time, ensuring every detail was accurate, every calculation precise. The stakes had been unimaginably high, yet they had risen to meet them. They had proven that humanity could face the unknown and shape its outcome, not just endure it. The Queen's presence lingered in Mara's mind, a constant reminder that life, intelligence, and empathy were universal forces. The bond they had formed was not just an alliance, it was a lesson. It was proof that even in the most alien of places, humans could rise to the occasion, inspire trust, and protect life. Hours later, when the first light of a distant star streaked across the cockpit, Mara looked at her crew. "We've done something remarkable," she said softly. "Not because of technology or weapons, but because of who we are. Humans survive because we think, because we care, because we rise when others might fall. That's why the Queen trusted us. And that's why we succeeded." Jalen nodded, a rare smile breaking across his face. "I've always believed humans were special, but this proves it in ways I never imagined." Senna chuckled softly. "And to think it all started with a whisper in our minds. Please, don't die. I guess sometimes the universe knows who it can trust." Mara allowed herself a small smile. That whisper had been more than a warning. It had been a call to action, a test of courage and ingenuity. Humanity had answered, and the universe had taken notice. As they charted a course back to human space, Mara reflected on what they had accomplished. The Queen's people were safe, the planet stabilized, and a new alliance had been forged. Humanity had shown that its greatest strength was not just survival, but creativity, empathy, and courage in the face of unimaginable challenges. And somewhere deep in the alien forest, the Queen watched, her light pulsing softly, her thoughts filled with respect, gratitude, and hope. Humans were not just a species to be observed. They were partners, allies, and protectors. They had risen to the occasion, proving that even in the vast, uncertain galaxy they could make a difference. Mara knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity would face new worlds, new challenges, and new mysteries. But one truth remained clear. Humans were capable of rising to any test, of bridging gaps between species, and of protecting life in ways no one else could. The whispered plea had been answered, and it had changed everything. As the shuttle entered faster than light travel, leaving the alien planet behind, Mara allowed herself a quiet thought. Humans had survived, humans had triumphed, and humans had earned their place among the stars, not through force alone, but through heart, mind, and courage. The Queen's whisper remained in her memory, a reminder of what they could achieve. Please and don't die. And they hadn't, they had risen, they had saved a world. And they had proven once again that humanity could be a force for protection, understanding, and hope in a vast and unpredictable universe. The stars stretched out before them, endless and full of promise. Mara looked forward, her mind steady, her heart full. The universe was vast, and humanity had only just begun to show its true potential. Together with the Queen and her people, and with countless worlds waiting to be explored, Humans would rise to every challenge. They would survive. They would protect and they would thrive. Mara felt her heart pound as she stepped deeper into the chamber, the alien glow illuminating every inch of the vast space. The being, tall, regal, and radiant, remained still, its enormous eyes fixed on her. It was the alien queen, though Mara didn't know that yet. Something about her presence was calming, even though the moment was tense. The creature's aura seemed alive, almost as if the chamber itself responded to her movements. "Commander, what do you make of it?" Mara whispered, keeping her voice low. Jalen glanced at the queen, then back at Mara. "I don't know, Lieutenant," he admitted. "It's unlike anything in our records. There's intelligence there, and maybe curiosity too. But we can't rule out danger." Mara nodded, understanding his caution. She could feel it herself. The queen wasn't attacking, yet she also wasn't entirely safe. Her senses told her that this encounter required patience and observation, not aggression. The queen moved slowly, gliding across the floor without touching it. Her presence filled the chamber, radiating energy that Mara could sense in her chest, like a heartbeat syncing with her own. Then, unexpectedly, the queen paused and extended a luminous hand, pointing toward a part of the chamber Mara hadn't noticed before. There, etched into the wall, were symbols that pulsed faintly with light. "Itnar wants us to look," Mara said softly. She approached the wall, scanning the symbols. They were intricate and fluid, almost like living writing, shifting subtly when she tried to focus on them. Her mind struggled to make sense of the patterns, but a strange connection formed as she studied them. It wasn't language as she knew it. It was thought, emotion, and memory all combined. Mara felt a strange awareness in her mind. She could perceive images, the planet's history, its beauty, and its fragile balance. The symbols conveyed memories of civilizations long past, of struggles, triumphs, and finally, the rise of the queen as a guardian of the planet. Mara realized the queen was trying to communicate more than words could. She was trying to share understanding, trust, and a warning. Suddenly, a vibration shook the chamber. The lights flickered. Jalen's scanners screamed a warning. A massive energy surge was coming from beneath the planet. Mara grabbed his arm. "Something's happening." "Down there, we need to move carefully, but we can't leave without understanding what the queen is trying to show us." The queen's gaze met Mara's. In that instant, Mara understood the urgency. The creature wasn't merely guiding them. She was pleading for help. The whispers returned, now clearer, almost human in their cadence. "Please, don't die. Please, help us." Mara's mind raced. She had faced dangerous situations before, but this was different. She wasn't confronting an enemy she could shoot or a storm she could escape. This was a test of perception, empathy, and ingenuity. The survival of the queen, and perhaps her entire species, might depend on human resourcefulness. The queen moved toward a stairway carved into the chamber floor, descending into darkness. Mara glanced at her crew. Senna looked uncertain but nodded, following closely. Jalen activated his flashlight, its beam cutting through the dimness as they followed. The air grew warmer as they descended, and the walls around them pulsed gently, as if responding to each step. At the bottom of the stairs, they entered a vast cavern filled with glowing crystals. The light reflected in thousands of directions, creating patterns that danced across the walls. At the center of the cavern, a deep fissure glowed with an intense, almost blinding energy. Mara approached cautiously. Sensors indicated that the energy was not just powerful. It was alive. It pulsed with intelligence, reacting to their presence. "This is it," Mara whispered. "This is what the queen was warning us about." Jalen's face was pale. "It's enormous. We can't touch it." Any misstep could trigger a catastrophic reaction. The queen hovered above the fissure, her eyes focused on Mara. She reached out and a wave of emotion hit Mara's mind. Fear, desperation, hope. The queen conveyed a single truth. This energy was the lifeblood of the planet. If it became unstable, the planet itself could collapse. Mara realized the Queen's plea had a dual meaning. Protect her, yes, but more importantly, prevent the destruction of her world. Mara knelt, scanning the fissure carefully. Her mind raced through every piece of knowledge she had about energy fields, planetary cores, and alien technology. The Queen's presence made it possible for her to see patterns that were invisible to ordinary instruments. She noticed subtle vibrations, slight fluctuations, and tiny openings in the energy flow. There was a way to stabilize it, but it would require precision, courage, and trust between human and alien. "Commander, I need your support," Mara said, her voice steady but firm. "We have to synchronize our efforts with the Queen. I can do this, but it will take all of us working together." Jalen nodded, placing his hand on the console that controlled their instruments. "Understood. We follow your lead." Mara took a deep breath and focused. The Queen extended her hand toward the fissure, and Mara mirrored the movement. Their minds connected, sharing information, intuition, and trust. Mara felt the planet's pulse in her veins, and for the first time, she understood the depth of the Queen's intelligence. She wasn't merely a creature. She was a guardian, a protector, and now, an ally. Hours seemed to pass in a single heartbeat. Mara directed the energy flow, adjusting angles and calibrating her instruments in tandem with the Queen's guidance. The fissure pulsed violently, threatening to erupt, but the synchronization worked. Slowly, the energy began to stabilize. The crystals around them shimmered in response, creating a mesmerizing, harmonious glow that filled the cavern. Finally, the energy calmed. Mara exhaled, feeling exhaustion wash over her. The Queen descended to the ground, her form glowing warmly. She regarded Mara with deep, silent gratitude. The whispers in Mara's mind repeated one phrase over and over. "You did not die. You saved us." Senna and Jalen moved closer, still cautious, but relieved. "I can't believe it," Senna said softly. "It actually worked." Mara smiled faintly, though her body ached. "It wasn't just me. It was all of us. And the Queen. She guided us every step." The Queen extended her hand again, touching Mara lightly on the shoulder. A flood of understanding passed through Mara's mind. Trust, alliance, and a promise. The Queen's species would work with humanity from now on. They would share knowledge, technology, and wisdom, recognizing the unique qualities of human courage, creativity, and resilience. As they ascended back into the chamber above, Mara looked around at the glowing walls and the ethereal beauty of the alien structure. She realized that humans had more than survival instincts. They had empathy, ingenuity, and the ability to inspire trust in beings unlike themselves. That was the true power that allowed them to thrive, even in the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Outside, the forest glowed peacefully under the twin moons of the planet. The crew stepped into the light, taking a moment to breathe the fresh, strange air. The Queen followed them to the edge of the clearing, her eyes still luminous, her presence serene but powerful. Mara felt a connection that transcended words, bridge between species built on trust, courage, and the shared desire to protect life. "Lieutenant," Jalen said quietly, "we need to report this back. Earth will want to know everything." Mara nodded. "We will, but first we need to understand more. This planet, it's alive, and it's teaching us lessons we've never known." The Queen tilted her head, almost as if acknowledging Mara's thought. Then, with a graceful movement, she turned back toward the depths of the structure, guiding the crew toward further discoveries that awaited them. Mara knew their journey was far from over. Humanity had proven itself capable of facing the unknown, but the universe held even greater challenges. As night fell on the glowing planet, Mara looked into the Queen's eyes one last time before retreating to the shuttle. The whispered words returned, gentle and insistent. "Please, don't die." Mara smiled faintly, knowing she had survived, not by chance, but by courage, intelligence, and a willingness to trust the unknown. She knew the adventure had only just begun, And somewhere deep in the alien forest, the Queen watched, silently aware that this small human crew had changed the destiny of her world, and perhaps the galaxy itself. Mara stood at the edge of the shuttle, looking back at the glowing forest. The planet seemed calm, almost serene, but her instincts told her danger was coming. The Queen had shown them the fissure and its power, but something deeper stirred beneath. The surface. Mara could feel it in her chest, a low hum of energy that seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. "Lieutenant, are you sure we should linger?" Jalen's voice cut through her thoughts. He stood beside her, hands folded, eyes scanning the horizon. "We've done what we came to do. We could return to the ship and report to command." Mara shook her head. "Not yet. The Queen guided us to stabilize the energy, yes, but I feel there's more. Something is waking down there, something that could threaten both her world and ours." Senna frowned, gripping her sidearm. "We've already faced enough unknowns. Maybe we should let it rest. We're not exactly diplomats here, Lieutenant." Mara turned to her crew, her eyes steady. "We are humans. We adapt. We think. We face danger that no one else can. That's why the Queen trusted us. If we leave now, we might save ourselves, but we'd risk the planet, and that includes the Queen." Reluctantly, the crew nodded. They followed Mara back into the structure, deeper than they had gone before. The glowing walls of the chamber reflected their nervous expressions. The air felt thicker here, warmer, charged with energy that tingled against their skin. Every step echoed in the vast space, and Mara noticed subtle vibrations in the floor, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. As they reached the lower cavern, a shiver ran down Mara's spine. The fissure was no longer calm. It pulsed violently, throwing arcs of glowing energy into the air. Mara rushed forward, scanning the readings on her portable instruments. "The Queen's stabilization worked temporarily," she said, "but something is destabilizing it from below." Jalen looked at her, concern etched on his face. "We're talking about planetary-level energy here. If it erupts, I know," Mara interrupted. "We have to act before it gets that far." The Queen emerged from the shadows, hovering above the fissure. Her eyes were wide, luminescent with worry. Mara approached her cautiously. Through the telepathic bond, the Queen shared a warning. The energy beneath the planet had been dormant for centuries, locked away by her ancestors. But something had broken the seal. An ancient hive mind of mechanical drones, left as guardians or weapons long ago, was stirring. Their programming had twisted over time. They now sought to consume any life and stabilize the planet only in their own destructive way. Mara swallowed hard. She had faced hostile AI before, but never on this scale. A hive mind of drones, awakened after centuries, meant a threat that could outthink, outmaneuver, and overwhelm them. But she also knew humanity had a trait these drones lacked: unpredictability. No algorithm could perfectly predict human creativity and improvisation. "Commander," Mara said, turning to Jalen, "these drones aren't just threats, they're a challenge only humans can handle. We need to use strategy, speed, and ingenuity. The Queen will guide us, but the thinking, the choices will be ours." Jalen nodded. "Understood, we follow your lead." The Queen moved closer to the fissure, her glowing hands tracing arcs of energy as if communicating with the planet itself. Mara sensed her concern and resolve. Together, they descended into the cavern where the first drones began to emerge. They were massive, metallic, with segmented bodies and glowing cores. Their movements were fast, coordinated, and precise. "Brace yourselves," Mara whispered. "We need to distract them while I analyze the pattern of their movement." The drones advanced, emitting a low hum that resonated through the cavern. Mara noticed that their paths were predictable, but only if one focused on their micro-movements. Using her handheld scanner, she plotted their routes and saw an opportunity. "We can guide them toward the energy vents," she said. "If we redirect their flow, they'll overheat and shut down." Senna looked skeptical. "That's risky. We could be caught in the process." Mara's eyes met hers. "Yes, but if we fail, the planet and the Queen will be destroyed. Humans don't survive by playing it safe." We survive by thinking fast and acting smarter than the danger in front of us. They split into two teams. Mara led the first, guiding the drones with small energy pulses and clever manipulations of the chamber's lighting and reflections. The Queen followed, amplifying the signals with her own energy, creating openings that the drones didn't anticipate. Jalen and Senna moved to protect their flanks, firing non-lethal energy disruptors to temporarily disable drones that strayed from Mara's calculated path. The chamber echoed with metallic clangs and humming pulses as the drones adjusted, recalculating their moves, but they could not anticipate the human ingenuity guiding them. Mara's heart raced. Each step had to be precise, each movement calculated yet flexible. One misstep could end everything. Sweat ran down her face as she dodged a drone that swooped near the fissure, its glowing core flaring dangerously. She adjusted her path, her mind syncing with the Queen's telepathic guidance. Together, human and alien moved as one, anticipating the drone's moves and turning them against each other. Hours seemed to blur as the battle of wits continued. Mara noticed subtle patterns in the drone's behavior. They responded to consistent motion but struggled with unpredictability. Using this knowledge, she created a sequence of maneuvers that led the drones directly into the energy vents. One by one, the metallic guardians entered the vents, overheating and shutting down as the system absorbed them. The Queen hovered nearby, her light softening as the last drone disappeared into the vent. Mara felt the rush of relief and triumph, knowing their combined efforts had saved the planet from immediate destruction. Yet the exhaustion weighed heavily on her. The Queen's eyes met hers, glowing with gratitude and awe. Through the bond, Mara understood the depth of her appreciation. Humans had solved a problem the Queen species could not, using intuition, creativity, and courage. "Lieutenant," Jalen said, approaching, his voice filled with respect. We actually did it. We saved the planet, and the Queen, she trusts us." Mara nodded, barely able to stand. "It wasn't just me. It was all of us. And it was the Queen, too. She guided us every step of the way. This is what humans can do when we work together, when we think beyond what seems possible." The Queen extended her hand toward Mara. The energy flowing from her created a warm, pulsating glow that filled the chamber. Mara felt a wave of understanding, a connection between species that transcended words. The bond was strong, built on trust, courage, and the shared will to survive and protect life. Outside, the glowing forest continued its serene dance under the twin moons. The planet was safe, for now, but Mara knew the universe would always hold new threats, new challenges, and new opportunities for humanity to prove itself. Humans had survived countless dangers not through brute strength alone, but through intelligence, empathy, and adaptability. Mara looked at the Queen one last time before retreating to the shuttle. The whispered words returned in her mind. "Please, don't die." Mara smiled faintly, knowing that survival had not been a matter of luck but of courage, creativity, and a willingness to face the unknown. The Queen's gaze followed them as they ascended, a silent promise that this alliance between species was only the beginning. Back aboard the shuttle, Mara recorded a detailed report for command. She described the alien species, the fissure, and the awakened drones. She emphasized the importance of human ingenuity in the resolution. Humanity had once again proven that even in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, they could survive, adapt, and triumph, not through raw power alone, but through heart and mind combined. As the shuttle lifted off, Mara gazed down at the glowing planet. The Queen's luminous eyes burned in her memory. Somewhere deep in the alien forest, the Queen watched and waited, confident that humanity could rise to the challenges that lay ahead. Mara understood that this was only the beginning of a partnership that could shape the fate of worlds, and perhaps the entire galaxy. And for the first time in a long while, Mara allowed herself to believe that humans weren't just survivors. They were guardians, allies, and protectors of life wherever it might be found. Mara leaned against the shuttle's console, exhaustion tugging at her body, but her mind was racing. The planet below seemed peaceful from orbit, glowing under its twin moons. Yet she knew better. The fissure might have stabilized temporarily, and the rogue drones were neutralized, but there was something else lurking beneath the surface, something that had not yet revealed itself. The Queen's earlier warning echoed in her mind, persistent and urgent. Please, don't die. Lieutenant, sensors are picking up unusual energy fluctuations again, Jalen said, frowning at the console. It's coming from deeper within, the planet. Not the fissure, but something older. Something massive. Mara's jaw tightened. She had sensed this too. The Queen had guided them to stabilize the fissure, but the energy readings suggested a dormant core awakening beneath the planet. Mara realized the threat wasn't just the drones, it was the planet itself. A living system that could be violently destructive if provoked. We need to go back, Mara said firmly. We have to understand what's happening before it's too late. If we leave now, the planet and the Queen might not survive the night. Senna looked uneasy. We've already faced drones, energy surges, and a planet that seems alive. Are you sure you want to go back in? Mara met her gaze steadily. We don't have a choice. Humans survive because we face danger, not run from it. If we leave now, everything we saved will be lost. We adapt, we think, we act. That's why the Queen trusts us. With their decision made, the crew returned to the glowing forest and then to the alien structure. The chamber welcomed them with an eerie calm, but Mara could feel the tension in the air. The Queen hovered at the entrance, her luminous eyes meeting Mara's. Through their telepathic bond, she conveyed a sense of urgency, her energy flickering with worry. Mara felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her chest. Descending once more into the lower caverns, they reached the fissure. Mara scanned it carefully. The energy was unstable again, pulsating with violent spikes. But beneath it, a darker, deeper rhythm emerged, a pulse older and stronger than the fissure itself. This was the planet's core, awakening after centuries of dormancy. The Queen's ancestors sealed this core long ago, Mara murmured, observing the patterns. The drones were part of the seal, but something triggered it, and now, it's waking. Jalen's eyes widened. If it erupts, the entire planet could collapse. The fissure is just the beginning. The Queen extended her hands over the core, sending streams of energy that tried to stabilize it. Mara sensed her power, immense and ancient, yet it wasn't enough. The Queen's species had controlled the planet for millennia, but the core's awakening was beyond even their strength. Mara stepped forward. We have to combine our efforts. The Queen can guide the energy, but we need to apply human ingenuity, creativity, and flexibility that no species could predict. The Queen's gaze met hers. In that moment, Mara felt the depth of trust and expectation. Humans were unpredictable, capable of improvisation, and that unpredictability was exactly what could save them all. She took a deep breath and focused. Using her instruments, Mara analyzed the core's pulses. She discovered that the energy flowed in a complex pattern, like a river with multiple streams, each feeding into a massive reservoir beneath the planet. Any misalignment could trigger catastrophic feedback, but she noticed subtle imbalances that could be corrected with precise energy redirection. Commander, Mara said, we need to coordinate. I'll guide the energy along stable channels. Senna, you'll manage the perimeter, keeping anything from interfering. Jalen, assist with calibration. Timing and precision are everything. The crew nodded. The Queen hovered above, extending her glowing tendrils to augment Mara's manipulations. For the first time, human and alien moved as one. Their actions synchronized in a delicate dance against the planet's immense living power. As they began the process, the cavern trembled. Pulses of energy surged unpredictably, arcs of light, leaping from the fissure to the ceiling. Mara adjusted her calculations on the fly, improvising sequences of energy redirection that no algorithm could predict. The Queen responded instantaneously, amplifying the pulses and opening pathways through the volatile streams. The drones had been only a precursor to this. The planet's energy itself became the adversary, testing human courage, intelligence, and adaptability. Mara felt her heart pound, her mind working faster than ever. Every movement, every adjustment could mean life or death, not just for them, but for the queen species. Hours passed in tense silence punctuated by surges of violent energy. Mara coordinated with the queen, feeling the telepathic bond deepen as their efforts combined. The core pulsed wildly, then slowly began to respond. Mara introduced subtle irregularities in the energy flow, patterns the queen species would never have considered, forcing the core into equilibrium. Senna and Jalen provided crucial support, ensuring that the energy channels remained stable and that no external factors disrupted their delicate work. Together, human and alien ingenuity created a balance that neither could achieve alone. Finally, the surges lessened. The core's pulse slowed, stabilizing into a steady rhythm. The cavern brightened with calm light, and the air felt lighter, almost breathable. Mara exhaled, her body trembling with exhaustion, relief, and awe. The queen hovered nearby, her glow softening, radiating gratitude and respect. Through their bond, the queen conveyed a single thought. "You have done what no one else could. You have saved us all." Mara smiled faintly, though fatigue weighed heavily on her. "It wasn't just me," she said softly. "It was all of us, and you. Together we made it work." The queen extended a glowing tendril, touching Mara lightly. Warmth flooded her chest as understanding and alliance passed between them. Mara realized that humans were unique not only in survival but in creativity, courage, and the ability to inspire trust across species. This partnership could change the future of humanity and the Queen's people alike. As they ascended from the core, Mara surveyed the cavern. The alien structure was alive with gentle light, the forest outside glowing. In quiet celebration, the Queen followed them to the edge of the clearing, her eyes reflecting the twin moons above. Mara knew that the alliance forged in the depths of the planet would endure. Humanity had proven itself capable of facing the most extreme challenges, not through raw strength alone, but through intelligence, empathy, and adaptability. Back aboard the shuttle, Mara recorded detailed reports for command. She emphasized the importance of collaboration, ingenuity, and courage, explaining how humans had stabilized the planet's core with guidance from the Queen. Humanity's unique qualities had been decisive. As the shuttle lifted off, Mara looked down at the glowing planet, the Queen's luminous eyes imprinted in her memory. The whispered words returned once more. "Please, don't die." Mara smiled faintly. She had not only survived, but had also earned the trust and respect of a species far older and wiser than her own. Somewhere deep in the alien forest, the Queen watched, confident that humanity could rise to any challenge, face any threat, and protect life wherever it might be found. Mara understood that this was only the beginning of a partnership that could shape the destiny of entire worlds. Humans were not merely survivors. They were thinkers, doers, and protectors. And now, in this glowing corner of the galaxy, that truth had never been clearer. Lieutenant Mara Voss adjusted her helmet and peered out at the alien world below. The shuttle had been shaking for the last few minutes, buffeted by the strange winds of this uncharted planet. From orbit, it had looked calm, almost serene, but now the dense canopy of glowing vegetation stretched endlessly, twisting and pulsing with colors Mara had never seen. Blues and greens shimmered together, weaving patterns that seemed almost alive, and faint streaks of pink and violet floated through the mist that hung over the forest. Mara's crew remained quiet, each of them focused on their tasks. Commander Jalen, her second-in-command, was checking the shuttle's scanners, muttering numbers under his breath. Corporal Senna peered over the edge of the craft, gripping the railing tightly. Even the ship's AI, which usually remained calm in any situation, hummed nervously, registering readings of energy surges that seemed almost conscious. Mara took a deep breath. "Stay alert," she said. Her voice sounded steadier than she felt. "This planet is uncharted. We don't know what's waiting for us down there." The shuttle descended slowly, landing on a flat clearing surrounded by towering trees that glowed like lanterns. The ground was soft and springy, almost as if it had a pulse of its own. Mara stepped out first, boots sinking slightly into the luminous soil. The air smelled strange but not unpleasant, like rain mixed with metallic minerals. As she scanned the surroundings, she noticed movement in the trees. Shadows flickered between the trunks, and faint whispers seemed to float on the wind. Mara's hand instinctively went to her sidearm, though she knew it would be of limited use against anything truly alien. "Stay close," she called to her crew. "Eyes open, nothing touches us unless we touch it first." They moved carefully, their footsteps quiet on the glowing forest floor. Every now and then, the ground shifted beneath them, as if the planet itself were breathing. Strange flowers unfurled and retracted when they walked past, and tiny creatures with translucent bodies darted between the roots. It was beautiful, mesmerizing, and deeply unsettling all at once. After about half an hour, the crew reached the edge of a massive structure partially hidden by the glowing vines. Mara had seen nothing like it before. Its surface was smooth but irregular, covered in intricate patterns that seemed to move when she looked at them. It was neither metal nor stone. It almost seemed alive. "Commander," Mara said, "we need to scan this before going in." Jalen nodded and activated the scanners. The readings were bizarre. Energy levels spiked unpredictably, and something within the structure appeared to be reacting to their presence. It's not just a building," Jalen said, voice low. "It's something more, like it's aware." Mara frowned. "Aware?" "Yeah," Jalen replied. "The energy readings spike whenever we move closer. It's like it knows we're here." Mara felt a shiver run down her spine. She had faced hostile worlds before, but this was different. There was intelligence here, and it wasn't human. She felt a gaze on her, though no one was there. The whispers returned, soft and almost urgent. "Please, don't die," they seemed to say. She shook her head, trying to clear the unease. "We move together. Step inside, check it out, and get back." Standard procedure. As they entered the structure, the air changed. It was cooler, almost like stepping into a cave, yet the walls emitted a soft light from within. The patterns on the walls shifted constantly, flowing like water, and Mara couldn't help but feel that they were watching her, learning her movements. The corridor led deeper underground, and the crew followed cautiously. After several minutes, the passage opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling was impossibly high, disappearing into darkness. Bioluminescent tendrils hung like chandeliers, casting a gentle glow on everything below. In the center of the room, Mara saw movement, large fluid shapes that seemed to float just above the ground. "Everyone stay calm," Mara whispered, though her voice trembled slightly. The shapes coalesced, forming a tall figure, regal and terrifying at the same time. The being's skin glowed softly, and its eyes, large and luminous, fixed directly on Mara. The world seemed to hold its breath. The whispers grew louder in her mind, clearer now. "Please, don't die." Mara realized this creature wasn't attacking, it wasn't threatening, its gaze was almost pleading. She could feel a strange sense of empathy emanating from it, as if it were trying to communicate through emotions rather than words. Jalen stepped forward, hand on his weapon. "Lieutenant, we should wait," Mara said, holding up a hand. She couldn't explain why, but something told her this was different. The creature wasn't an enemy. It was intelligent, aware, and it needed them. For the first time, Mara understood that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or technology. It was curiosity, courage, and the willingness to face the unknown. The creature tilted its head, studying her, and in her mind the words came again. "Please, don't die." Mara nodded slowly. "We won't," she said softly. Her crew watched in confusion as she lowered her weapon. There was a fragile trust forming in that moment between human and alien, and Mara felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. The future of this encounter, and perhaps much more, depended on what happened next. Outside, the forest continued to glow, serene yet unpredictable. Mara knew that whatever lay ahead, it would test humanity's courage, ingenuity, and compassion in ways they had never imagined. She took a deep breath and stepped further into the chamber, determined to understand the being before her, to bridge the gap between two worlds, and to survive.